everyone, it's Sharon and I'll be talking about my high school portfolio. I know if you're applying to art colleges or just colleges in general right now, you're very stressed, there's a lot of pressure on you to do well. But anyways, just like sit with me, relax, make some tea, relax with me. I'm a freshman at RISD and I just went through a semester of foundation year, and because of my experience I feel like I have a better knowledge of an understanding of what works and doesn't work in a portfolio. I did not do any early decision, I did all regular decision. My portfolio, I was accepted to California College of the Arts on a very generous scholarship and also to Syracuse University on a hefty scholarship. I did not get any scholarship from RISD because they told me they did not offer any scholarships. But in the end, I still chose RISD because I felt like that was a college that was the best suited for my major. Okay, I'll first start by talking about the two mandatory RISD prompts that we had to do. For the first one, I did the still life prompt. Let me just look at it. It's supposed to be an observation drawing. I slightly forgot what the exact prompt was, but what I was trying to accomplish with this drawing was just to show the dichotomy between the inorganic form, which is the foil, and the organic form, which is the plant I was holding and the one that was on my face. So yeah, this was technically a photo. It was of myself, so no, it's not a still life. Well, I think the most important thing is that this photo is a photo that I designed and thought of, so not a stock image, so it is my idea. And another important thing is that I didn't trace the photo, so I do have the capabilities to draw like this, and I did have a still life. But at that time, when I was in high school, it was just very difficult to find someone to pose like this for me for several hours. Looking back at it, I probably shouldn't have done charcoal because you had to fold up the piece after you were done, and it made me like very stressed afterwards. I was just like, I don't know if in the mail if it's smeared or like what happened to it. Did the charcoal get everywhere? What did the admissions people see? So if you're gonna do this prompt, I would suggest against doing charcoal. The next project I did was the mark making tool. I was interested in that one as opposed to some other prompts, like for example the bicycle drawing, because I thought it was like more related to design. I was interested in that area. Looking back at it, I'm way too embarrassed to show you the full video now. The project, I think, like the tool I ended up making, I think it turned out pretty well. In essence, I stuck a bunch of aluminum wires that I folded into a styrofoam ball, and I cut strips of sponges and it's hot glued it onto the wires, and it created a zigzag pattern. I tried a lot of different ideas before this final tool to see like what created the most interesting patterns. I think the process was actually the most interesting part, to see like, oh, I tried like sticking cardboard on it, or like I cut like just bits of sponges instead of strips, and it all created different results, and I think this one was the best solution to this project. I folded up the final drawing, I created the tool, and I sent the drawing. Now the following works are some drawings I've made. Most were around 2 feet by 3 feet, some a bit bigger or smaller. This one was done with watercolor in the background and color pencil in a face. The color pencil was first done on black paper and I cut it out. This one was pastel done on black paper. I drew poppies because I live in California and it's our state flower. This self-portrait was done from a photograph. It's pastel on gray paper. I particularly like this one because of the reflections. I think it was very well done. Pastel is just one of my favorite mediums to work with because I get to smear it and it creates this impressionistic feel. It has like a sort of movement to the drawing. This is a watercolor of a scenery around where I lived. Another watercolor, I was trying to show octopus tentacles transforming to aloe plants. I don't particularly like this one. It's a self-portrait I did while looking in a mirror. I used a sharpened twig, which I dipped in black ink to get that texture in the hair. And the bird in the sky was done with poster paint. The proportions are a little awkward, that's why I don't really like it, but I think the clouds and the bird look pretty great. Sculptures. This is a dress I made out of Time magazine, which I cut up, and some aluminum wires just to make the human figures in the bust. It was on a life-size mannequin, but unfortunately it's just an art piece, you can't wear it. This is a headpiece I made from wire from electronics and aluminum wire as an outer structure to hold the whole piece together. The red wires on the inside form a mold kind of shaping to the head, and it just rests on the head. This is the second helmet I made from magazine pieces that I cut up in hexagon shapes, and they were raised in different lengths by aluminum wire. The wire and the paper took a very long time to cut. This was a very time-intensive project, but I think the end result is quite visually dynamic and also very delicate at the same time. This was a huge sculpture I made hung by fishing wire. It's reminiscent of the tin can telephone wires from childhood, but in my art project it's disconnected. I titled it Miscommunication. It was one of my more daring projects. It took me 2 months to make, and I wish I recorded a video of it. I think that would have been a stronger documentation of the project. I included 2 projects I made at CCA's Industrial Design pre-college. And first, this was a life-size functional cardboard chair I made. It's modular, so you can take it apart, each piece, and also the pieces are held together by a rubber bicycle tube, and the bicycle tubing can be taken out and then it will be folded flat, so it can be easier for shipping. The second piece is a foam model I carved for a shoe I designed. For the poster explanation, I think I should have done it on Illustrator so it looks more polished. Order does matter when you're submitting your portfolio, so I put my life drawings at the very end. I think art schools have seen enough of those perfectly rendered charcoal models. I used to do a lot of those perfectly rendered models, but I think it was a good choice for me to include like more experimental works. I had a great portfolio teacher that really encouraged the class to do watercolor, pen, or even some more compositional types of figure drawing. Last, I included my sketchbook pages that show my processes in designing a lot of my previous sculptures. I think process is a very important part of design, which is why I chose to show these particular pages. I compiled a total of 6 pages to submit in my sketchbook as one artwork in my portfolio. So overall, an evaluation of my portfolio as someone who's already in college, I think my portfolio showed a lot of my potentials. It showed like I had something to offer to the school. I can be creative, I can work with a lot of different kind of mediums, and I showed my interest in designs, but I'm also very flexible. I can do traditional art, I can make some more artistic sculptures that are more conceptual. Now, the weaknesses, oh gosh. By no means was I good. I mean, that's why I went to college to learn. I think it's great to take what I learned now in college and then reflect on my old artworks and reflect on my growth. Definitely in the past, I limited myself too much creatively. I stuck to mediums that I was more comfortable with, such as a lot of my pieces are wire or more like traditional mediums such as pastels. But I realized more, well, I'm gonna talk specifically about RISD. I don't know about other art colleges, but definitely they value creativity and individuality. I met so many amazing artists at RISD. For like one project, one prompt, no one would come to class the same thing. And I think like that diversity is very important. I wish in high school I experimented with more things that I was uncomfortable with, such as sewing, maybe even some performance arts that I could just document on video, or yeah, just something like sculptures of like really crazy and wacky mediums. In general, my advice is just to experiment more with ideas and concepts maybe that you're not comfortable with, or just different kind of materials. It can be completely crazy, honestly. Your work will be appreciated. Definitely don't make anything that just looks realistic or something that you think is practical. Essentially, in my portfolio, I think I tried too hard to show that I can draw, not enough to show that I can really think. Like, most of my projects were created in art class or in portfolio classes, and it's, of course, I followed the teacher's prompts, so it wasn't really my own doing. Some people I went to class with, they never even touched charcoal before we stepped into drawing class. Some people at RISD, they decided to create a portfolio or even to apply to art school like a month or like a week before the applications were due. However, those people are willing to learn, they're willing to be bold and ask questions in class and contribute, and I think that's really the most important. I wish someone told me back then to just stop stressing and stop worrying about being the best artist. Although you still have to work hard, but you have to believe in your individuality and your unique voice. So keep creating, make what you think is beautiful and special, and other people will see it too. Good luck.